What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? So welcome to another episode. So I know we've had a couple breaks in there, so we should be caught up, I want to say, but if not, you will, get a lovely interview in its place. So definitely continue to check us out on your podcast platform of choice. We're on video on both YouTube and Spotify. You can check us out on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area, as well as Radio Fairfax in the DC area as well. And that's on Wednesdays. So definitely continue to support us. Greatly appreciate it. And with all that being said, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from InsideHigherEd.com, written by Catherine Palmer. And the title of this one is Cybersecurity Threat Delays Start of Classes at UT San Antonio, right? So the university is saying that there was no data compromise, right? But the disruption still has the consequences, right? So this is not anything new, right? So remember, the end of last year, beginning of this year, the Ivies were taking a hit because they were getting hacked like this as well, right? So, and it kind of makes sense, right? Soft target, the information you get is from, especially if you're looking at alumni, right? When you start talking about your Princetons, your Harvards, I think UPenn was in there for one, right? Like
Penn State.
Was it Penn State too? Oh, see,
not cyber though.
Okay, I was like, yeah, man. Look, they went from Nike to Adidas too, right? So I'm not as high on them as I used to be. So it's what it is. But no, so like with this right here, like when they start getting information, like I said, with alumni and whatnot, you start thinking about the alumni of some of these universities, right? And these are people that are in position of power or people that have a lot of money, right? So those whales, they're getting that list of whales that they can go after and start doing, the whaling, to try to get some pertinent information, right? Like, again, like political figures, people with a lot of money, have gone to these universities, right? That's usually been the case. And even when it comes to current students, right, these universities, that tend to lean to a higher class of people, right? Like when it comes to financial class, right? I'm not saying they got class, right? I got class, you know what I mean? But, I ain't rich like them. But no, so this is one of those things where we're going to see more of this, right? So like, even though this was different universities, like we've seen this when it comes to local schools, you know what I mean? Public schools, your private schools, like that are out there, they're just softer targets. When it comes to the amount of investment in cybersecurity, it just may not be that much, right? And it's harder when it comes to universities, right? Because of all the intermingling they have to do, right? Whether it be that they're intermingled with federal programs, for assistance, and just making themselves available for potential students, you know what I mean? It just makes it to where it's a harder environment to protect, and like this is what you get from that, right? And they even talk in the article about the rate at which it's gone up. I want to say it was 8%. They quoted in the article year over date for the amount of hits. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, fellas. I may be wrong on that number. I thought it was 8%, but that's not nothing. It's a low number, but it's not nothing to say that 8% more attacks on universities and schools is happening. But that's kind of where we are. But Chris, what's your thoughts on this, man?
So I found that it was the university that hasn't really disclosed like the attack vector or the actors or anything like that. Obviously, the investigation is going on. So really, anything you say about ransomware, there's a lot of speculation. But from like at least a cyber perspective and kind of what they've done, I found it odd that they extended the surrender 3 days of the calendar year. That seemed kind of odd to me, right? That shows that level of severity, and they don't know to me that says they don't know what the blast radius of the actual threat or actual incident was. And there's
do you think they're lying? Do you think they're lying about what was exposed then because of that?
I don't know, right? So okay. I think there's some mystery, at least from this perspective of the article, right? We just don't have enough information. There's also a statement about no evidence for exfiltration, right? So I'm like, are they just comparing logs right now? Are they, what's going on with the investigation? Again, it's all speculation from my perspective. And then also I was thinking, it's been happening to other colleges, right? Through Canvas, right? Canvas, we were discussing Canvas earlier. Canvas had its outage from that standpoint, it being kind of like I would say, obviously a critical SaaS solution for universities. So I'm thinking like, hey, what are the backup plans, right? What are the and I'm thinking from my consultant hat, it's like, did they conduct a business impact analysis or wouldn't be a business like education impact analysis, right? Something like that, right? I'm thinking like, what are the critical services? What's their recovery time objective, right? So that might be something cool to Google for the listeners, what a recovery time objective is. But that's really, for me, it's just a lot of speculation. I could speculate at the edge, right? What was happening? Who's got exfiltrated or potentially hacked? Maybe it was like a senior person, right? I don't know. Maybe it was a coach. I don't know. But yeah, those are my thoughts really quick. I just think that there's a lot of speculation here, but I really hope that they come up with positive results for with the forensic evidence, and then really nothing really was exfiltrated, right? So they're kind of confirming the incident at this time, right? Without going into like pure speculation mode right now and say, oh, it was a APT. They wanted to know what was going on. There's a secret nuclear lab in Texas somewhere. So those are my thoughts really quick.
No, I agree. Like, yeah, we would have to speculate a lot to figure out what's going on there at UT San Antonio. The reason I bring it up is because this was the week my kids went to school, right? So I was going through freshman orientation with my middle son. I was dropping my daughter off at her new dorm, then dropping my son off at his first dorm, right? So like all this stuff has me like heightenedly, nervous just in general, especially like pushing back classes, stuff like that. Like my daughter is a junior now, so she'd be able to figure it out, be fine. But like freshmen, it's a constant churn, right? Like classes are being updated and things need to be, switched or changed. So it would really freak me out, only because there's a lot of scrutiny on the freshmen, right? Like my understanding, or I guess anybody in the first week, like if you don't make your first week of classes at their university, you get dropped. Like, so you have to make the first day of every class or you get dropped, right? So stuff like that would make me nervous with the shift. You think they'd be more lenient because of it, right? But again, like you don't want to put too much more pressure on the kids that are even though they're grown adults, right? But that are starting their new journey into to college. So that part made me nervous. Like I'm sure they have a contingency plan. They're working through it to make sure all the kids are safe and what have you. But and then add on top of that, if they're out of state, right? Like my kids are in state, they're not that far away, so they need to come home. They can, but like if I was dropping my child off halfway across the country, I'd be like, yo, what is going on? So it just adds more panic to all of this, right? A heightened scrutiny per se. And I know that they're being also regulated by probably GBLA, right? GLEBA, because of their or I should say college institutions take in federal money. So GLBA is usually one of the frameworks that they have to abide by. So there's heightened scrutiny there as well. So hopefully, like you said, they did have contingency plan.
Mm-hmm.
They have conducted the BIA. They have RTO and RPOs associated with outages and things of that nature. Or, right, they're going to get punched in the face by audit. So it's a lot.
So, and I was going to go around to that, right? So UT San Antonio is a public university, right? It's part of the University of Texas branching or whatever you want to call it, right? So maybe, Chris, I know you think there's a little bit more nefariousness going on here, but maybe they're being cautious like that because they don't want to run the risk of losing federal grant money, right? Like
that's
to come to your
statement.
point, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So they're like, let's not run the risk of in the future them saying, well, you guys weren't taking care of business when you were supposed to. Why should we give you more to kind of combat this in the future? Now, if it was a private university, if it was like Duke or something like that, and they did, I'd be like, okay, I'd probably be on your side there, Chris. I'd be like, yeah, something else is going on, right?
That's
like,
true.
But
yeah. Texas is pretty good in regards to like. So I'm not from Texas. I'm not carrying water for Texas. I know people have beef with them sometimes, but when it comes to them in their frameworks, like I know they have their own cyber command now.
Absolutely.
I know that they're pushing the TCF, the Texas version of NIST. So they're doing a lot when it comes to cyber. So I would hope that that's also not just on the lower end of the federal and state government, but it's also within their higher education and collegiate institutions. But I don't know. I've never worked or done any work for a college in Texas, but I would assume be the same as a public school or for a local federal office or whatever.
Well, I wonder how integrated it is, right? Because if that was the case, you would figure that'd be a success story they would tell about them having their own, organization in state to do it. Because I think they just referenced external vendors or something like that. They said in the article are assisting with it. So I don't know if it's a civilian institution they're going to or what. But like with what you're talking about, I figured that'd be like scream it from the mountaintop, right? Like Texas invested this money and this is going to come out in the article. And again, it just may not be mature yet, right? To where it's something that's being integrated all the way across the board. Especially UT San Antonio, right? It's just a branch. Like if it was UT, if it was the Longhorns, maybe then it'd be something different.
Right.
But I don't know. I can't speak.
Right. So yeah, I'm sure more will come out next week or the week after, because again, it is the beginning of the school year, right? So everybody is like hustling and bustling. So hopefully they'll have more time to explain what happened and what they did about it in the very near future. But with that, Shannon, I give it to you for the next topic.
All right, everybody. So, excuse me. This article comes from cybermagazine.com, written by Rathula Nisha. And the title of this one is How Did Cybercriminals Breach GTA 6 Maker Rockstar Games, right? So Shiny Hunters had claimed responsibility for a data breach at Rockstar, right? They were releasing confidential company data, following third-party vendor companies. And for those of you that are not in the know, right, Ryan, I know you're in the know, but Rockstar with this GTA 6, man, they getting a lot of love out there. You know what I mean? Like the pre-orders, even didn't they set a record for like pre-orders or something like that too for GTA 6?
Yeah, they haven't disclosed the what they haven't disclosed the numbers yet, but their CEO Strauss Zelnick, I want to say is his name, for Take-Two, he says unprecedented.
Yeah, and it's believable, right? Like 13 years was the time frame, right? Since the last
13 years, and they're selling it for $80 for the basic, $100 for the special edition. I call it the complete edition. That's why I gave them my $100.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a big deal, right? Like especially when it comes to the amount of investment that has gone into this, and with the anticipation with Rockstar,
$1 billion.
I imagine they're like, we're going to make at least two on this, right? 2 billion, like 1 billion with the investment. But like, I imagine they're going to be like, we're looking at that 2 billion mark. It's not a success unless we get to that point. But what they talk about in the article, though, they say a limited amount of non-material company information was accessed with a third-party data breach, right? So like, we're seeing this more and more where it may not always be, the company, the immediate company itself, but some type of third party that may be doing work for them or someone else that they partnered up with, right? But not just when it comes to like this breach, but like even more recent, like within the last few days, it just seems like more and more stuff is coming out with the GTA breach, right? Like they talk, I've seen another article where they're talking about malware disguised as leaked GTA 6 copies, right? They're popping up on piracy sites. So people are like, I'm going to get this copy before it comes out for free, and it ends up being malware, right? So you're trying to get ahead of the big corporation, and then you get got. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, there's talks about game footage being leaked out there. So be careful out there, folks. Like don't try to beat the man, right? These big corporations, and just be like Ryan. Give them your money, right? Enjoy the product. You know what I mean? And don't run the risk of having other things happen when you're out here downloading this malware that you think you're getting these free copies of these games. But Chris, what's your thoughts on this?
So what I wanted to discuss was what actually happened. So they exfiltrated supposedly 78.6 million records from this Snowflake data warehouse, right? So that was and the access path was a story, right? They didn't really target Rockstar directly, but it was through some of their third parties, right? So they exfiltrated like authentication tokens. So think about it as like keys to your car, right? They didn't steal, like they didn't get into. I'm trying to make a really bad analogy, right? It's like they stole the valet key, right, from the parking service and got into your car, right? That's kind of how I want to talk about it. So that's essentially what happened, right? And like it goes to show you that it's like a non-human identity perimeter, right? It's a token, it's an encryption token that lets you get access to something else, right? It's like a service token between the Anobot, right? An AI-driven monitoring analytics software and Snowflake somehow. Again, what that data flow looks like, we don't know. But it was not MFA, right? It wasn't no behavioral baseline. It was like it wasn't anything behavioral, right? On like employee based, right? And it makes me think about like current third-party risk management practices, right? So in the civilian sector, right, a lot of organizations, before they onboard a client or a customer or a vendor, they send them a security questionnaire, right? Do you do this, 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 this? And anybody that's worked in the cyber department for any organization probably had to do one, or do them all the time. I'm thinking like nothing could have caught this, right? No questionnaire, no attestation report or assessment could have done this. Again, this is why we've got these advanced groups doing this type of exfiltration, right? I'm thinking like it's a control that you can't own, right? It's crazy because you could have a perfect organization like you could have every control in NIST 853 in your organization, right? But it only takes a third party to slip up one time for you to be compromised. So it's like, what is the balance for a lot of these organizations? How in depth are they going to be asking their vendors, I need you to do X, Y, and Z per this contract? And they could sign the contract. But it's one of those things where like an adversary that's advanced always like they have like preemptive strike like in Final Fantasy, like they're behind me, oh crap, that's how it is, right? So it's just something to think about, right? The risk that you can control as much risk as possible internally, at least mitigate risks, treat your risks internally as an organization. But from a third party perspective, a lot of that is based on trust and just like, oh, I trust they're doing something, right? But in this world of zero trust, it's almost like, am I trusting my vendor who's, I've had a good relationship with? Is my questionnaire enough? So I think it's like a question to ask. Like, no report, no trust center that they have on their website, and they can show you all these certifications, could have done anything to prevent this because it's difficult, right? This is something that I think the industry is struggling with, right? And with AI and everything, it's just getting harder and harder. So Ryan, what do you think? Or
so can I ask a question then? So for both of you being in the civilian sector, right? Like me still dealing with, with the military, DOD, whatever you want to call it. The MOUs that I see, they do not go into that type of detail that you're talking about, right? Like, do you see more of that in the civilian sector than what you may have seen when you were doing it for the military? Because I know from my standpoint, I've seen MOUs between squadrons and whatnot that I'm like, 3 pages? You know what I mean? Like, that's not much.
It largely depends on the product and really the company, right? Some companies have, like from a consulting standpoint, you've seen some SLA, service level agreements or MOUs with other organizations, and they'll just have like a blanket, like a pretty weak blanket statement saying, you shall provide adequate security. And I'm like, what does adequate mean, right? That could be, key and door versus, full SaaS, CrowdStrike, SIEM, whatever suite, right? What does that mean? So it really varies, Shannon, right? And there's no, at least in the government, you've got the RMF process, you've got like mandatory questionnaires, and you've got like a contracting officer, right? That type of stuff that goes through the contractual line items required. And I would say it's more robust in the government sector versus in the civilian side, just because it's like, hey, we need these guys so we can increase our profits, and they will. Yeah, so I think
it comes down to maturity of the organization. So like I've seen a lot more of what Chris is explaining, but when you're offsetting risk, right? When you're offloading risk, then to an AWS or Azure, whomever, then that's where you see the most robustness, right? Like they'll have already described RTOs, RPOs based upon how much you're paying them, right? Do you want 5 9, 6 9, 7 9s? But then when it comes to contracting, when I've worked in those spaces, it's really the flow down, right? Like if CMMC 2.0 is the flavor of the day, then you have to abide by these rules. But again, they're being kind of forced to do that because of the framework. But when you kind of like smaller mom and pops, they don't have that robustness.
Yeah, and like for example, it's also industry specific. Financial institutions have the FFI. You used to have like the FFIC CAT cyber assessment, process, but that sunsetted, and now they're mandating NIST CSF, right? But that's just a framework, right? An outcomes based framework. Like,
so I see secure controls framework a lot, like
secure controls. Yeah, SCF,
And it's really just every framework. So
yeah,
and then you remove depending upon where you're working. So like if you're a big bank and you're in multiple countries, then you're going to be scrutinized under those frameworks as well. So it's kind of like you just add to the NIST, say, okay, well we also work with the Royal Bank of India, so we need that one as
that's
well, and
true.
so on and so forth, and kind of like just snap those on. And some of it overlaps, and some of it is very much distinct.
Yeah, the SCF
So
is fairly comprehensive, so I would say that that's really good for like gigantic, top
right,
20 banks in the country, right? Like those $1 trillion of money, right? But the like from my perspective, I've seen local credit unions, right, with just requiring cybersecurity framework and whatever else, right? So I would say again, like to Ryan's point, it's all about maturity. The bigger the organization, the more resources they have to throw at third party risk, and that's tough. Like third party risk is, I think it's one of the hot treatment, I would say, topics in cyber. It's
yeah.
cyber and business, so that's why it's crazy. It's like it's so important to get on the same page as your operations team on that.
Yeah, and you have
But
to also take it a step further because your
Yeah.
third party has a third party, right? So that's got
Mhm.
fourth and fifth party. So like you need a team. So like I work for a very large bank, so we have a TPR team
Yeah.
that can go down that route. But like if you're mom and pop, it's kind of like, how do we?
Yeah. Like you got a 2-person IT shop, right? It's totally different than having an entire outsourced managed service provider in a different country, right? Or something like that.
It is becoming so much more relevant, right? Because when
It
we start
is.
seeing stories like this, almost always it is a third party and it's never
Yeah.
the company itself, right? Like there is somebody else that's managing their authentication or their access, whatever it may be, right? Or is hosting, excuse me, their environment, right? Almost always. So like that's why I ask, like, because I know what I have seen. And for you to say the government seems like, if I heard you correctly, you said the government seems like it may be more robust with it, Chris. Like, I'm like, oh, I know what I've seen. And maybe it's just at the level that I'm at. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean?
I mean, on paper, the government's more robust, right? There's just a lot more regulation. There's a lot more driving factors and requirements for, because you got to meet these wickets to even be a contractor, right? Or you put your product in GSA, you got to, go through these hoops, right? Not necessarily the case in, the private sector where there isn't, mandated requirements and things like that to be able to be on a quote unquote marketplace like a FedRAMP, right?
Yeah, but let me say my piece on GTA real quick.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Like I like where the conversation went because TPRM is such a fascinating topic that a lot of bigger institutions kind of understand, and they're figuring it out, at a rapid pace because of stuff like this. So like Rockstar has, the internet estimates, between 4,200 and 6,200 employees under its belt. And then, they're making multiple games sometimes at once, but they also have a crazy amount of contractors. And for you to go 13 years with very minimum leaks means that they are either really good at what they do or their NDAs are so ironclad that you're scared for your life. But regardless, what happened? Third party, right? They just recently had a phishing attack where they hit a contractor in a different country, right? They clicked a link and they lost more data, right? Because of credential theft and things of that nature. So they're going through it right now because it's $1 billion product is what it's estimated at. And people have been waiting over a decade for it to come out. And now they have the special on Netflix next week, which is probably when you'll hear this episode. That will probably either have already happened or about to happen, depending on timing. But regardless, like I'm sure they're making diamonds right now, like with the pressure that they're under. And this is the perfect opportunity for a Shiny Hunters, or there's another guy called like Cyber Leaks or whatever that's aggressing on them very heavily. And there's a lot of pressure there. So like, do you buckle? Do you pay? Or like, do you sue this dude into non-existence? And if so, like, are that stuff already going to be out there? Because he's claiming he has a playable build. That's devastating for something that's they've put $1 billion into or more. So yeah, like I guess even with all the money in the world is what they seem to have because of how successful Grand Theft Auto's been. Red Dead Redemption as well. Even they haven't, don't have the ability to stop everyone from, doing their due diligence and not clicking a malicious link and things of that nature. So it's kind of crazy. Like I feel for them, not because they're a big corporation, but because they have a product that I really want to play. So I'm willing to give them $100, right? Like way in advance. But like their stock already took, I think they lost $18 per share already when this latest leak came out, as well as I think they said that there's some tension between them and Netflix because a lot of the stuff they're going to show off is potentially leaking there on the internet for people who want to see it. I'm completely media blackout though. So it's crazy. So I feel bad for the people, not necessarily the organization. So like a lot of people poured years of their life into this product just for somebody to come out and try to spoil it. So that kind of sucks.
I don't know how you're going to do a media blackout on this, man. Like, it's everywhere.
Every time I see something GTA related, I'm like, oh, drop my phone, run away.
You buying a new phone every week. You throwing it in your aquarium,
right? Yes. I just have to hold out until
spoilers.
Yeah, the Netflix showcase, right? They're gonna do like 20 minutes of gameplay and stuff. I just need to hold out till then, and then I'll be like, okay, whew. But that's gonna be hard, man. That's like what, Thursday?
Yeah,
I think it drops on Thursday.
Is that what it is? It's a gameplay thing? I thought it was like, hey, this is how we came to this in the 13 years.
No, it's like a sneak peek. Like it'll be the first time people see actual gameplay of it. So I think they're gonna do like they've done in the past, where they have like the protagonist walking down the street and they explain how the systems work. And that's huge. We haven't seen that yet, or at least people who haven't seen the leaks. So we will see. But
assuming the leaks are legit too, man.
Yeah,
like, it could be one of those things where
not AI or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's enough for Rockstar to be pretty upset.
Yeah.
Is it 3 months left? Right, 3 more. I don't remember the date.
It comes out November 19th.
Yeah, there's still a lot of time. It's a long time for. A lot of stuff can happen in 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. But before I move on, so definitely continue to check us out. We're in your podcast platform of choice. You can watch us on video on both YouTube and Spotify. And then you can check us out on the radio on Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard in the Atlanta metro area on WDJY 99.1 FM, as well as Radio Fairfax in the broader DC area. I think that's once a month on Wednesdays. And we have now a listenership of 27,500. And that's just with the one radio station. And now we have the second one that picked us up. So we're syndicated now. I can't wait to see the numbers. So please look forward to that as well. And then you can pick up the guide, The Other Side of the Firewall, where I interviewed 26 people on how they broke into cybersecurity. That's veterans, women, people of color, career switchers, you name it, neurodivergent professionals, and how they broke into cybersecurity. So check that out at The Other Side. But without further ado, Shannon, I give it to you for our discussion.
All right, this discussion comes from pbs.org, and the title of this is Monitoring the Midterms. Are Midterms Safe from Cybersecurity Threats? So this is something that is very relevant as we're within 90 days now of coming up for voting for midterms, right? So this is something that I know has come up, and it doesn't matter what side you're on, it's come up on both sides of the aisle, right? Let's assume there's only two parties, to where one deems there's a threat this way and one deems there's a threat the other way, right? And I won't get into that. But the purpose of what they're talking about here is CISA being involved in trying to assure the different states that they are doing their part to protect the cybersecurity for the critical infrastructure for voting equipment, right? And that's kind of what they get into with this video, really. But there's a transcript for it as well, where Liz Landers is being interviewed about how she's getting some information from how this meeting went. And it seemed that a lot of the states were not thrilled. And I know, and here's the thing, I don't say this to say CISA's not doing their part, because they do a lot of stuff, right? But we also have to remember, and we talked about this on the show, about how their manning has been cut by at least 33%, right? Like there was a hit they took a year and a half ago to where they've lost like 33% of their workforce. So even though this is something that's within their wheelhouse and something that they are supposed to be working in, they're not as fully manned as they used to be, right? So they go and talk about it here in the transcript for this video about Liz Landers, how she spoke with 3 sources who were on the call. They said the call lasted about an hour, and it was hosted by the National Association of Secretaries of State. And there was a couple times where it got a little heated, right? Like they were asking very pointed questions and they felt like they weren't getting actionable answers, I should say, right? Like it's one of those things where they're like, hey, what are you going to do about this, that, and the third? And they didn't feel like the responses, and they didn't go into what the responses were, but the people that talked to Liz, just they were not pleased with what they got. And the 2 people that were on this call from CISA is the acting director of CISA, Nick Anderson, who spoke the majority of the time, and Jim Harrell, who is the head of integrated operations, was also on the call, right? So they had 2 people that were fairly high up in the organization, but their fears on how this would all be handled were not. It seems like they weren't as well received as CISA would have thought they would have been. But again, let's all remember, right? Let's all remember that they don't have the manning that they used to have. And again, I think another thing that kind of got these secretaries of state is kind of politicization as well, right? When it comes to the current administration. And I'm not trying to get into that, but depending on the state that you are, there's fears about that, right? How I talked about one side believes one thing, one side believes another thing, right? So it's one of the things where they're like, well, what are you really going to do, right? Because the department that you fall under, CISA, which I believe is Department of Homeland Security, I think is what CISA falls under.
I believe
I'm trying
so.
to remember. Yeah, there's some fear there, right? And they don't want to have it be one of these things where they have their midterms. Maybe it's not fair. Maybe it's not favorable to one party or the other, and then people start complaining. But they want the help. They just feel like they weren't getting satisfactory answers from CISA. But Chris, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a tough situation to be in, especially for for the listeners, right? Like the Washington does not run elections, right? It's run by literally, think about the U.S. as massive in scope and size. Thousands of counties, towns of different sizes with infrastructures and ITs, but think about a small town or so with one or two IT people covering that for like the entire like library of voters, right? It's like for what happened in the past is like for years the federal government has acted as like a shared security team, right? Free scans, threat warnings, like somebody to call at 3 a.m. if something happens, right? That's what CISA used to be able to provide with previous funding. Now the question is like, is there still a team? Are they still answering their phones? Right? What's the case here? From the standpoint of the article, right? It seems like CISA, I mean, due to the their triage, they're probably more focused on 2028 than they are in 2026 in preparation for that. Right, given the gravity of the presidential cycle, right? Again, not I think to Shannon's point, I think the losing side's always going to try to find somebody to blame, no matter what side it is, right? So it's a very tough situation to be in, especially for counties that are just trying to count votes, right? So, like, I want the listener to think about it from two standpoints, right? I'm assuming, just from the assumption, many people voted, right? Before, like I know I voted in the midterms this cycle, and those machines that you plug in your little where you put in your paper, those are generally, from my understanding, not connected to the internet. They're outward fake. They're completely air gapped from from other people, the counties, whatever. Like that's how it should be, right? Question is, it's the voter registration databases, it's the poll books and the county networks, right? And like those are what's at risk, right? It's the ordinary IT infrastructure within those specific counties that can be, let's just say, compromised, right? So what does that mean if the county network gets a ransomware attack on election week? Like what's going to happen? It would be pretty disastrous, right? Like remember how they were doing counts by manual counts and stuff like that? It would just create a backlog of administrative work, which could cost the taxpayers a ton of money, right? It's just, this is how it is. And I know it was a private call, but like I really think that there is a lot of contention as to this isn't answering their calls, right? And like I think it's no fault of their own. It's just a consequence of the lack of manning or staffing there, and I think it's a very tough situation to be in. And I hope I hope that there is some resolution to that, especially considering the increased threats out there from other from APTs that they exist, right? So we've been being fed for the past few years about other countries interfering in elections. I think it's just something to be really cognizant of as a government, right? So tough situation to be in. Let's pass back to you guys.
And they bring that up in the transcription as well, how they talk about some of the secretaries of state were like, hey, what does our worry need to be when it comes to Iran, Russia, China, right? Like, what do we need to, and it was those three specifically they called out, right? Which those are, in recent history, those are the ones we have to worry about. So yeah, I mean, there is real concern there, but I don't know, man. Like it's one of those things. And I think I agree with you, Chris, with them trying to probably put more of their energies into the 2028 election cycle, right? Because it is on a grander scale following the presidential cycle than what the midterms are. And I'm not saying that to poo-poo the midterms. Midterms have weight. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that to anybody, okay? Get out there and vote, do your thing. But that's not what the podcast is about. But I'm not telling you how to vote, just get out there and vote. But yeah, it is a weird position for them to be in, because they're like, hey, this was not a responsibility that was taken away from us. You took 33% of our manning, but you didn't take this responsibility away from us. It's not like you took it and put that somewhere else. So yeah, it's weird, man, like to be put in a situation like that. Not that I haven't been put in a situation like that before, right? Where it's like, hey, you know what I mean? You guys are bringing are minimizing the force by 25,000 people, right? Ryan, that's our time. You know what I mean? And then you still want us to do the same stuff we've been doing, right? Yeah, do more with less. Okay, all right. That's not really how that works, but okay, you know. But Ryan, man, I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. So I included this because I know it's on everybody's mind when it comes to the vote. I think what I'm more concerned about than over the technical aspect of it is the suppression. So when it comes to the algorithms, when it comes to foreign bodies, when it comes to just telling people that their vote doesn't count, I think that's the greatest impact on the vote, as opposed to the APTs, things of that nature, because there's going to be some shenanigans, right? We know that to be a fact, but it's usually after it's all said and done, when the reports come out, it's minimal, right? It's a handful of people that are dead vote. It's like there's a contingent of, like you said, the big three, right? You got Russia, you got North Korea, or I guess big four: Russia, North Korea, China, and Iran in this case, that are going to have some kind of influence. But I think their influence will be less in the machines and it'll be more through the algorithm. So just vote, people. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, it doesn't matter if what political aisle you're on, what they want you to not do is vote. That's what these other countries want. They want to make you feel as though your vote doesn't count for anything. And the same thing in the States, right? They want to suppress the vote as well, saying like, don't worry about it, right? But you will get what you vote for. So if you do not vote, you will get nothing. You know what I mean? Like fair, like the people who will always vote, like the older generation and people who are like staunch on one team or the other, they're going to vote regardless. Like they're going to come out, they're going to do their thing. And it just seems like more and more people are not voting. And I think it's because of the propaganda, right? It's the bots on the internet. It's the people pushing people out of the voting game. And I think that's going to be more of a chilling effect than it will be getting into these machines. So I think CISA's doing the best they can do. Like you said, they've been cut. So they're giving the best answers and doing the best they can do with what they have, right? But at the end of the day, it just seems like people don't feel like their vote counts. And that's because, I believe it's because of social media. It's because of the propaganda. It's pushing people out of the voting pool. And that's coming from foreign bodies as well as here in the States as well, right? The call is coming from inside the building, and also the Soviet bloc, right? They're all telling you that your vote doesn't count. So just vote. I think if you overwhelm the system by voting, it will cause more of an impact than staying home.
And here's the thing: CISA can't do much about the social media aspect of it, right? It's really just them. The only thing they can really do, right? Because they don't have any. They can't put their hooks in Meta or X or whatever, right? The only thing they can do is put some type of training out there to be like, these are the things to look for to know whether or not you're getting misinformation or disinformation, right? They cannot apply, let me not say they cannot apply any real manpower to it. They can't affect it as much as these secretaries of state want them to when it comes to them actually dealing with the voting machines themselves, right? And cybersecurity for that. But I'm with you though, man. Yeah. It's the misinformation and disinformation. That's the...
Yeah, and people have to realize that most of the traffic on the internet now is not people. It's bots. Right. So like 60% of traffic right now is not even a human being. Right.
That's one comment on crazy. Facebook or whatever. That's just there to make you angry. When you're angry, they did their job. Right. Just think about if that comment is actually from an actual person. Right. If you're looking at like a random post that's been.
That's why I don't argue. I only argue with friends now. Right. Because I don't know who you are. I don't know if you really exist. Right.
You're arguing up against was it OpenClaw or whatever? That's who you're.
Yeah.
You're against the AI bot, and he's gonna win because he doesn't have feelings.
Right. You're not gonna shame it.
You can't shame AI.
It's just there. It's just there to argue with you. Exactly. So I would say keep engaging. Like do what you do, but at the end of the day, don't let it stop you from voting. But with that being out of the way, how was your guys' week?
So for me, I watched a little bit of media, right? So I did watch Masters of the Universe. I did.
Yeah. What'd you think?
It was campy and it was okay. Like it was just, I don't know, man. And to be honest, like I know when you're casting a real person, like it's a little bit harder, right? So, and I said this about James Gunn's Superman as well, right? Like he wasn't as big as Henry Cavill was, you know what I mean? That's what
Right.
you expect to see. Like even from the comic books, it's like Superman 6'4", 225, as well as Bruce Wayne, right? I think they have the same. I think they have the same measurements, even though it's across, you know.
Yeah.
But that's not what I saw. Like the guy they had, okay, he's in shape or whatnot, but when you watch He-Man, right, in the booty shorts, like he was real big in the animation, and I'm just like, I think you kind of missed the mark there. And honestly, I did think, and I've seen this before, and I kind of feel the same way. Skeletor did kind of steal the show. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things where it's like one of the few times Jared Leto actually did well, right? I guess lately he's been on he's got a bad rap with his movies.
Yeah, I would say, is it Jared Leto a bad actor, or does he just sign off on bad
products?
movies?
Yep.
Like, what is it that I saw something online? It was like the Jared Leto curse. Everything he's in, he sucks. Or was it like remember starting with a like Suicide Squad, right? And I think ever since that, then it was just like is he box office?
In that,
you know,
the Tron movie.
Yeah.
But I thought he did good in Masters Universe. But the movie was it was a good to watch on stream. But I would not have gone to theaters to see it.
Yeah, agreed on that, because it's one of those things where like after I saw it, I'm like, I could probably go a little while longer before I have to watch this again, right? Like I have to be really bored and be like, all right, I guess I'll watch it again to see what's going on. I wouldn't seek it out again, but so did a little bit I did watch that. What else did I watch? I watched Lanterns, okay, and I'll tell you this: when it first started out, and maybe because I haven't followed the story enough, the way that they're doing it, in that I didn't think that's how lanterns came about. Usually you're assigned to be a lantern when the previous one dies, right? And then the ring chooses you.
Like, the ring chooses.
Yeah. Like that's kind of not how they're doing this one. It was interesting. And the beginning of it, I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to like this. But as it went on, I think it got better, right? It was one of those things where I was like, if this is what the series is going to be, because you usually start out with a bang and then you wear off. So I was like, all right, I probably won't finish this series. But as it went on, I was like, okay. And like, I didn't realize they were going to go to different time frames like they were.
Yeah, every 10 years. Like, what's going on with every 10 years? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I thought they were going to stay in a certain time frame because the majority of the episode was that, right? So it's like, okay, we're going to that time frame, and then it jumps around, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. But yeah, it's I'll give it another shot, right? I'll give it another shot and see and let it ride.
I think it's a bold direction, because I was like, this is like True Detective, like so I was like, this is not what I was expecting. This is a True Detective type scenario where you already know what's going to happen, and they're trying to figure out like what happened to get here. And I'm just like, that's a lot deeper than most superhero products.
Right. And here's the thing, I like Columbo. That's how you do Columbo, right? They show you the crime in the beginning, and then they show how he got to that point, right? Like at the end, he's like, oh yeah, one more thing, I caught you. You know what I mean? Like, but no, and like at the end of the first episode, because only one episode has come out so far, like I noticed there was a lot of time left, so I was like, let me see what's in this last part after the credits. Like they go into like the like showing you little bits of what's going to happen throughout the season.
It said weeks or something like that. It said like next episode it was like weeks ahead.
Yeah. So it was, and some of the stuff they're showing there, I'm like, okay, I can get down with that, right? And I know I said this to you, Ryan. I was like, I forgot Aaron Pierre was a Brit, right? Like I forgot he was British.
Yeah.
And I remember, as he's doing the interview and talking, I was like, oh yeah, I did know that because I found it out when he did was it Rebel Ridge? What was the one with Don Johnson, where the sheriff's department was a little crooked?
Yeah, it was Rebel Ridge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's when I found out, and I was like, oh shoot, okay, another Idris out here, right? Like tricking us all.
They're stealing our jobs.
Hey, he's a good actor.
The Black Panther's British too now.
It's British too, yeah.
They're stealing our jobs.
Yeah, hey, I ain't mad at it. I keep
thinking about the Aries Spears skit where he's like, I don't like UK rap, and he's like,
the drill rap.
Anyway,
I think I'll continue with it. I'll wait till next week, which I don't like that, man. I still like it all at one time.
Yeah, man, give it all to me. But they're like, and then you'll unsubscribe. So
yeah. And I think that's why they do it now, is because there used to be a time where you get it all drop at once, especially on Netflix. Netflix didn't used to, do this whole weekly thing. And I started seeing it a little bit on there too. But So I'll give it a shot. The other thing I watched was Reacher, the new season of Reacher. And when they did their first week, they dropped 3 episodes at once. I still haven't watched the fourth one, which has come out because my wife hasn't been available. That's one we watched together. I'm telling y'all, if y'all haven't watched that series, it's a good series, right? So I think a lot of people they affiliate it with Tom Cruise with the movies, which I'll tell you this:
Yeah.
the first one that Tom Cruise did as Jack Reacher, and I realize he's not the I don't want to say the stereotype, but he's not how the character was written. The character was written to be this big behemoth like Alan Richardson, however you say his name. So Tom Cruise at 5'6", 160 pounds. They're like, that's not Reacher. So people don't like it because of that, right? Because they've paid attention to the Lee Daniels series of books. But
Got you.
I don't know. I think people may be associating it with that, but like if you watch it, it's not bad, man. It's not bad. But this fourth season, I'm like, okay, I can get down with this too. So it's worth a watch. I'm just putting it out there to people. It's worth a watch if you get the chance. If you haven't been watching Reacher, or if you need to get caught up with Reacher, give it a shot. But that's kind of been it for me. I've been watching older stuff, man. Like I have been scrolling through all of my my streaming services, and I'm just like, man, where can I cut? Because
Yeah.
I don't need it all. And then when I talk to my wife about it, every time I talk to my wife about it, she's like, no, one of my children watches this, one of my children watches this. I'm like, man, maybe they gotta go without. Their life needs to get hard now. Because I'm sick of not seeing stuff that pertains to me. I'm paying the bills. Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Right. Because I expect it every weekend to have at least one movie that I want to watch or documentary or whatever, right? Every single weekend. And it has not been happening. It's been like every other weekend or maybe a weekend a month where I was like, oh, all these movies dropped that I wanted to watch. But like, if I have all the stream, like I can't think of what I don't have right now.
Right. Yeah.
And every weekend I should have a movie to watch.
I want to get back on Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso started up again. I liked that series. It surprised me, and I haven't got into that one. And there are probably a few episodes in now because I want to say it was like August 5th, I think was the first episode of the new season. So that's at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks in now that they got something. So I might get back into that to watch that one. But yeah, man, I find myself like I have stuff in my queue and in my list that I look at that I'm like, it no longer even interests me, right? Like I put stuff in there off recommendation too. They're like, oh, you got to watch this, and then I watch the trailer and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna like this, but it's still on my list. You know what I mean? So I just haven't removed it yet, but I don't know. But Chris, how about you, man? How's your weeks, man?
I mean, so you guys talk about. You guys make up a good point about like streaming services. I mean, really, at this time we've got such abundance of things to watch, right? And when you're at the point where it's like, oh, I've seen everything already. I've seen everything good, And I actually think I got to that point a little bit earlier. I think I got like a few years ago because like I don't watch a lot of movies and things like that anymore, especially like in theaters. Like I think we're gonna go see the Odyssey here in like 70 millimeter IMAX or whatever it is. I want to watch it in the way that it was meant to be watched, but like I just don't because like it's you have so much availability of media. To me, it's like it's not like I'm not really that interested. I don't like search out for those movies anymore. It's like it kind of sucks, right? So, and that being said, right, like that's why I started like I got like I think last time I spoke about getting electric guitar. I actually have been playing that and getting through the Justin guitar plug to him, I guess, because he's free, right? Justin guitar lessons. I'm on, finishing up the first course. It's really great, right? So I think if there's something to like work towards, it's like exercise. And speaking of exercise, that's me exercising my mind other than like work. So the artistic aspect. Then for exercise, I think I'm going to talk about what I do for workouts, but I've been like really switching it up right lately, doing kettlebell workouts. I've been doing sprints on the treadmill again. I haven't done that in a long time, right? You guys remember those days when you're training for your PT test and it's like you run around the track or you're either running on a treadmill and you do like 30 seconds on
sprint
and
the long and jog the short
and like I remember I did that for the first time actually 2 days ago since like I got out of the military almost over 3 years ago, and I'm like, man, I still got it. I'm still pretty quick. I'm not as fast as I used to be when I was active duty, but like I was pretty happy for myself, and I was pretty proud of myself. But I didn't hurt myself because I've learned that when you're training PT in the military, you got to do your mandatory warm ups and stuff like that. And as you get older, you got to stretch a lot more. Like I stretch first things in the morning. I'm like, dude. Like I'm picking something up and I'm out, right? And actually, that's what got me into kettlebells. All right. And I started doing, like the proper kettlebell swing. It's like the best workout ever, in my opinion. Like you're training all that lower back muscles and glutes and hamstrings. And it really, like, it's like a really functional workout. And like, I tried, deadlifting one time, like a few months ago. And I I felt that like little tingle where it's like, nope, I'm not doing this. Right. I'm too old to be sidelined. Right. And I
You
think pretty
listen
sure.
to your body more as you get older, right? Like
Yeah,
you
and
listen
it's
to
like,
your body more
back
and push
then it was
forward.
like curved back. I'm just gonna power through 350, 400, whatever it is. Now it's like I try that, I'm gonna be in the hospital or urgent care, like literally that same day, right? I need my
When
Flexerol or whatever you call it right away.
you're young, you're like, I'm gonna lift with my back, hyperextend my ankles, like,
Hyperextend,
like
yeah,
I'm
in a
lifting.
jerking motion. You're just like,
Yeah.
not,
No
not
belt,
now.
no belt. Yeah, no belt at all.
Remember, because like we remember going to the gym like in our 20s, and you saw these guys, with their belts on and doing lightweight. And I'm like, now that's me. That's me now. So yeah, so that's that. And then for like that's kind of on that end. And then professionally, I'm pursuing the CRISC certification, CRISC. It's another ISACA cert. So I'm pursuing that CRISC just to add more, letters to my resume.
Yeah, no, that's dope.
So I want to get that. Like that's like a personal thing. And then on the media end, actually, I haven't been watching movies or like Netflix. I don't really watch Netflix too much anymore. Like, but I'll go over to like a family house or something and we'll watch Netflix. I'll watch there, but like I don't pursue it actively. But I have been rewatching some anime, right? So we, wife and I, actually finished up and caught up to Demon Slayer. So we finally caught up to the latest movie. Fantastic. But the problem is now I gotta wait for the next movie, right, which is next year, and then it's another movie after that, right? They're not finishing out with episodes; they're finishing the series out with movies, so they can get the maximum animation quality and things like that. So really looking forward to that. And I started rewatching some My Hero Academia. Right, that's another one of the more famous shonen animes from the 2010s. I would say. I think it just ended last year though, right, from the animation standpoint. But it's great, loving it. Right. Other than that, that's my week. Ryan, over to you.
Not much, man. I've been busy with the kids, so I went to freshman orientation with my son, and then dropped him off at the dorms, and then moved my daughter in, and they're both here this weekend. So it was like I dropped them off, and they came back just to hang out. So I'm like, okay, I don't mind at all. Keep teasing them, keep them like, hey, so we pay for you to live somewhere else. But I'm happy that they came back to hang out, because I know it's going to get fewer and farther in between once they start actually having to like study. They're not going to come home. So I'm super hyped about that. I went to a Pokemon trading card conference with, I think it's like TCG or something like that. That's what it's called. It was down here in Tampa, and my youngest wanted to go, so he's getting big into Pokemon cards. So he went there, and it was cool. Like it was like very crowded. It was at the Renaissance Hotel down there in International Mall. And you just walk in, and it's just like a horseshoes built out of these trading tables, and they all have glass tops with the cards inside. And for the adults, right, they're haggling, and they got calculators out, and they're like bargaining with one another. But when a kid stops by the table, like my son, he's 11, they'll teach a little bit. Like, so like one dude was like, he showed my son the card, and then he said, what should you be looking for? And my son was like, oh, this and that. And he was like, yes, like both of those are correct, but also look for this. He was like, the centering, and check the edges for whiting, and that's what reduces like the amount the card's worth. And they're actually like training the kids, like, this is what you should be looking out for. So I really appreciated that. And like one dude, my son wanted the card, I think it was $20, and he's playing with house money, so it's all my money, right? But he still wants to learn how to haggle and whatnot. So for this one, he really wanted the card, so the dude pulled it out and he said, go ahead, check it out. And my son was like, I really like it. So he wanted to give him the money. Like, basically, I'm the bag man. So he looks at me, and I go to pay, and he was like, "Well, wait, you got to haggle." He was like, "Okay, so at list price is 20. Like, look at the corners, look at the centering, look at X, Y, and Z. Use this app to scan it." And then he was like, "So how much would you offer me now?" So my son was like, 19. He was like, "No, think about it. Like, there's a tolerance here." So he worked him down to 18 is what the dude would accept. But he's just trying to like don't always go for the first price. So I was like, okay, that's cool, right? Teaching the kids how to bargain with these cards and what have you.
Nice.
So he had fun.
You got to take him to a market in Morocco. Good price.
Man.
Yeah. You guys remember that?
I do. My brother, my brother.
My brother. I remember my friend. He was like, I remember we were there for exercise, and he literally started out at like $1. He's like, and then because he started learning their tricks, and the guy asked him, "Are you Moroccan?"
Like, yo, I hate haggling, man.
Man, I was just like, I don't want to talk to you. Just let me pay the price. You know?
Yeah. What will you take?
Yeah.
What will you accept?
Exactly.
I hate going to furniture stores. I hate going to mattress stores, and I especially hate going to car dealerships.
Car dealerships.
Oh
okay,
man,
let's
what will you accept?
Give me your lowest price possible. I don't want to talk to the manager. I don't care about the finance guy. Give me the lowest rate, by the way.
Right. I just wish, like, because I know they have Carvana and things of that nature, but I just wish like Amazon would start selling new cars. Like I get used cars, like yeah, you wanna test drive it, you wanna kick the tires, all that good stuff. But if it's off the lot with a warranty, how much does it cost?
Yeah,
let's just get this over with.
I think car dealers kind of screwed themselves over COVID and that, because like I don't think anybody. It's gotten worse, right, from the trust stamp. Like I'm still seeing markups on the Civic Type R. I'm like, dude, it's 2026. You're not going to sell this car. It's been sitting there for over a year. You're not selling it. You know?
I tell you something, man. Like out here in Colorado, like what I'm seeing, like I hear people talking about it, but like Jeep's very popular here, right? Like all
it makes sense. 4-wheel drive, yeah.
But the markups, like you're talking about with the markups, like I talk to people that are like in the market because I probably will be soon. That's for a different time. We're coming up on the end of the show, but like the amount of money I've been paying on my car lately, I've been looking into, because I've never done it. I've been looking into doing a lease, and I'm like, do I really want to do it? Because the amount of maintenance, the amount of money I put into maintenance on these cars, I'm like, I'm over it. I am over it. Like let somebody else deal with that, right? Like, but I don't know. But like the markup thing, like I've talked to people that they've been like, yeah, that markup's like $15,000-$20,000 over.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, but people are paying it, right? They want it. They want this new type of Jeep. They want this new type of whatever.
I blame the people that pay that crap. Yeah. They
That's
need
what
to
it comes down to.
buy that stuff and ruin it for everybody else, right? Like,
yeah,
people just trying to buy a car, man.
Yeah, it's wild. I think it's going to go the other way, just with the economy not being what it has been, right? And people will be like, look, I'll hold on to what I got. It's whatever. But yeah, it's crazy. Some of the stories I hear, I'm just like, ooh. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you already got a paid off car, right? Let's say you have 2 paid off cars, right?
I do.
And there you go. But and then you have like 1 fun car. What's wrong? I mean, you've got the disposable. If you've got the disposable income, you've budgeted for it. What's wrong with a lease that you could just like, hey, this is my weekend car that I want to drive my wife and kids around sometimes to be fans. Like, what's wrong with that? If you've already got the means to have, I mean, if you already got 2 cars that are paid off, right? It's just like, oh, it's because then you don't have to be like, oh, in 3 years I want a newer version. Like, hey, at least might make sense if you've already got paid off cars that are reliable, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about trading in the car that's been giving me problems, though, right? Like I don't want any more problems. Like I don't want anything with it. So like if I trade in that vehicle and then I put money down, like my lease payment is like for the vehicles I'm looking at, like I'm trying to floss a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah, like like I've gone years. Ryan will tell you this, like where we either had one vehicle or I had like my little trash car, right? So like I'm trying to reward myself after all that time. After all those years of doing that. But no, I would trade in my car and then just get a reasonable lease payment, right? And let them deal with any type of maintenance or anything like that. Now, the second go round, like I don't have a car to trade in at that point, right? Like I'm going to be paying a little bit more. That's my thinking behind it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
You weren't a new car post deployment kind of guy.
No,
like those guys, like
no,
like you'll be like financial counseling. I'm gonna have to talk about financial counseling right now because you're.
I think as long as you're not like the only hindrance I think for a lease is the mileage, because you'll be capped at a certain mileage. So if you do a lot of driving and commuting, then that has to be factored in. But aside from that, like you said, they take care of most of the heavy duty maintenance and things of that nature. And then once you're about to be on the hook, then you get out. You get onto the next thing. But like you said, now you don't have that leverage.
It's your Friday at work car, right?
So it's pros and cons. Obviously to both. But so far, I'll let you know. Like I think I got another year or so on the one that I'm leasing, and so far so good. But yeah, when it comes time to trade it out, I'll let you know how that all worked out for me. But it's nothing luxurious. I needed something that was larger for a time period, and now I want to convert down to something that's smaller. So we'll see how that works out.
Corvette.
Right. A Lambo.
So look, in Florida, that works for you guys. You got to remember, I'm in Colorado, so 7 months out of the year, I have weather to where I may not be able to have a rear wheel, 2-wheel drive. You know what I mean? So like,
right.
I still do all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive or something like that.
I think, just cars in general could be a different podcast because like Florida, the cars here, it's actually crazy. I'm like, if you travel like to the Midwest and then come down to Florida, you'd be like, man, like everybody drives a nice car in Florida. Like, because up in the Midwest or in colder, you can't drive a rear wheel drive year round or a nice car year round because you got that salt and the snow, it's gonna rust and all that. And you're like, that's gonna be my summer car. That doesn't exist in Florida. Everybody drives their convertible Mustang M3, M4 now, right? Year round.
That's very true. So the problem isn't the vehicle type, Shannon, is that you need to get out of there. So your snow and sunburn at the same time. But I digress. So we got to land this plane. So thank you for all those who listen to our rambling every week. Again, check us out on your podcast platform of choice, as well as on the radio on WDJY 99.1 FM, Atlanta metro area, and Fairfax Radio. Check us out at the web address to go by our name. You can also hit me up at RyanWilliamsSenior.com. And where can they find you, Chris?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Abacon. Last name spelled A-Bacon.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.